new captain, but if you've had someone doing so well in a certain role, and then you might have looked at your batting lineup and you go, well, let's give her an opportunity to bat more and face more balls, or do you stick them, keep them where they've been so much value to you?
Yeah, it is a tricky one. I mean, I think Webb's still got more to develop as a player, all-round player, and she's shown what she can do in the middle. I think she's almost earned her elevation to number 3. It's a key spot in the lineup, obviously. But as I said before, the Melbourne Renegades are not afraid to change things around. So I think it's an element of keeping the opposition guessing as well.
There's Jimmy Rodrigues coming off a magnificent series with the 100. And then a change of bowler too. Maitland Brown comes into the attack, the former Renegade. Hesitancy to begin with. Probably got two of the quickest players out there in the middle for the Melbourne Renegades.
Well, Burnsy, you would have had a bit to do with Maitland Brown around the Australian setup. She's someone who just keeps getting stronger as a bowling option. What's she like around the group?
Maitland's the life of the party and of the team. Usually she's very bubbly, very up and about, brings a really, really good vibe to any group that she's involved in, whether it's I've trained with her in this pre-season for her first season in New South Wales Breakers, and as you just mentioned there, Al in the Aussie setup.
And you would have loved to be playing alongside her in the Sydney Sixers, as it's a big recruit getting Maitland into the Sixers now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think talking to Maitland about her decision to move across the Sixers, she was looking for a bit more opportunity with the ball, but then also to work with some really high quality fast bowling. So obviously the likes of Elise Perry, but also working with Ben Sawyer, current Australian fast bowling coach and assistant coach. And I think we've seen, obviously, as you mentioned, Maitland's she's kind of got all the tricks to the trade. She's got, usually up front, she'll try and get a little bit of shape away, bowl with some nice pace and bounce, and then back into the innings and middle overs, she'll really change her pace, back of the hand, slower balls. She's really starting to develop as a player and know her game more and more as time goes on.
Attacking the top of off, as we've seen a lot of the seam bowlers do in the last few rounds, and it's worked for them as well. We had a magnificent day of seam and swing bowling in Launceston recently with Kim Garth's magnificent 3 for none off 3 overs. Izzy Wong started that day in similar fashion. But it has been, as we'll see later on today, potentially it's been spin for the Melbourne Renegades. It's been their strength area. Just short of Maitland Brown.
Yeah, the line's nice and tight here to Rodrigues, not giving any width through to be able to free her hands with the cut or the sort of slash drive, which she's so strong at. So really important to be able to tie down the key batter, being Rodrigues at the moment for the Renegades. It's been a very impressive power play for the Sixers so far.
The pressure builds. Rodrigues gives herself some room, and that is very nice indeed. A nice release shot there for the Melbourne Renegades.
Yeah, the pressure building, and Rodrigues recognising she needed to do something a bit different because the lines from Brown were exceptional. So just giving herself a bit of room to the leg side and almost hitting it for 6 to cover point.
Yeah, beautiful lofted cover drive. It's what you love to see, isn't it? But yeah, I don't think Maitland will be terribly unhappy seeing those kind of shots. Obviously, showing all of her stumps, it's always going to be a bit of a risk, particularly early in the power play. You know, a bit of nip off the seam could have potentially knocked her over there. But yeah, obviously kudos to Rodrigues. That was an excellent shot there.
And now there must be some confidence in this pitch too for a player so early, particularly in the power play still, to seam bowlers to expose all 3 sets.
Yeah, there's no demons in the pitch, fairly even bounce. It's always a great pitch here at Lilac Hill. Wonderful place to play cricket. I'm sure Stella Campbell will enjoy bowling on this surface.
A little false start there from Stella Campbell.
Well, you mentioned, Erin, the sort of fast bowling and the attraction of coming to the Sixers to work with a Ben Sawyer who's been so brilliant in that area for a long time. The Sixers always known for having a very good pace bowling cartel. It's been exciting to see the emergence of the young fast bowlers in Australian cricket at the moment. Erin, you would have enjoyed watching the India-Australia series and seeing Stella make her Test debut.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, speaking to Stella about it, she was just absolutely over the moon, and as she should be, given that opportunity to play her first.
Oh, it's just held off the pitch. Webb doesn't go through with the shot. It's Verma underneath, and she takes it. Little sigh of release. We saw her drop one like that against Australia recently, so no catch is easy.
She was very calm and casual there, wasn't she, Shefali, under that ball? But, yeah, no, a dream start for the Sixers here.
It. Little sigh of release. We saw her drop one like that against Australia recently, so no catch is easy.
She was very calm and casual there, wasn't she, Shefali, under that ball? But, yeah, no, a dream start for the Sixers here. 2 wickets.
Just sort of held up in the pitch. Also, Webb maybe looking to go to the leg side and just turning the blade, getting a leading edge. And the Sixers are up and about. The change of venue, the week off, looks to be doing them well.
So the wicket of Webb means prize because they've almost scored 50% of the runs the Melbourne Renegades have scored this year. So if they can break this, they will be well and truly on top.
And Harmanpreet Kaur has played at this venue a number of times with the Sydney Thunder over the years, so she'll enjoy being back here at Lilac Hill. She'll understand that it is a pretty true wicket, fast outfield, and even though the Renegades are a bit behind here in the power play, there's a lot of overs still to go.
Campbell, after getting the wicket of Webb, goes full in at the pads of Rodrigues. So lots of chat in and around both teams, but particularly in terms of their batting orders as well. We've seen Eve Jones come back into the side after Josie Dooley did such a good job for them the other day. There's been talk about the Sydney Sixers batting lineup, whether or not Elise Perry, who's started off this competition at 4, would be better suited opening up with Healy. How much, Al, of consistency for a team is important to get through tournament style of play?
Yeah, it's difficult because you go into the first game thinking this is the best order. Tough call for the coaches and the captain. But that's what I like about the Renegades. They seem to have shown their cards early, that they're very willing to change things up.
There's the short ball. There's the pull shot in the air. And Ange Reeks, I think in the back of her mind will be thinking, I'm in a little bit of a hot spot here. 4 internationals, Indian internationals playing today. 2 of them are batting for the Renegades at the moment in Kaur and Rodrigues. Shefali Verma in the back of the picture there. And Radha Yadav. Settles herself to see off the last ball of her first over. Kaur's first delivery. And she's going to have to reload on that one. Brought the slip into play for Kaur on her first delivery. Happy with that, Captain Blackwell?
Yeah, very happy with that. I think you've got to be aggressive. You're on top, 2 wickets in the power play. If the Sixers can get a third, more often than not, you go on and win those games. So key wicket, and they're well on top.
Oh, it's another loose delivery. Kaur goes after that one and puts it away.
Yeah, Stella just losing a little bit of control at the moment. This is something that we've seen in her early days playing WBBL after coming through club cricket, playing for universities and getting her call up, but she has been much more consistent and much more confident. So hopefully she can just shake those 2 deliveries aside and get back on track.
She needs to do it quickly because it's a no ball and a free hit. Yep, flicked off the legs. Does she have enough of it to go over the top? Just Ange Reeks with a little fingertipper to try and save the boundary. Certainly wouldn't have been out off the free hit, but had just a split second to save the 6.
Probably not the line she was hoping for. Going for the Yorker, just getting onto the leg stump, and you can't really bowl there to Harmanpreet Kaur, who's got this beautiful flick shot, the use of the wrists, and it goes all the way.
Yeah, nice little bit of acrobatics there on the boundary line by Ange Reeks. If anyone could tap that one back, it would have been her. She's got a nice high vertical jump, so working as an exercise physiologist, probably just getting the gains in the gym. So
I like it. 17 off that over, which doubled the Melbourne Renegades score. That'd be a little bit of a disappointment there for Elise Perry and the Chargers.
Yeah, it would have just opened up the release valve a little bit. But yeah, I don't think they'll be too disappointed. I think the nature of this game is that, you know, sometimes there is a bit of a loose over here and there. But apart from those few balls aside, I think the Sixers have been bowling really, really tight lines. They've obviously had some really good scouting meetings against these two, and they've got some really clear plans just to not try and give them any, but particularly Rodrigues, who, as we know, takes that nice leg stump guard and is just trying to open up any width through the offside.
The last over of the power play for the Sixers. It's nicely driven for a dot. What's the chat amongst the Sydney Sixers about the 6th over of power play when you're bowling? Do you get the sense that teams are wanting to capitalise on that last over and there's an opportunity to pick up wickets?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a bit of a general theme across all teams. So, you know, trying to make the most of the power play. But I think in this situation, Renegades will be like, look, we are 2 down. We've got 2 of our kind of more established batters that have been doing well for this competition. I don't think they'll be, you know, making any rash.
That's not rash. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Up and over the offside with a lot of space to work with there, Jemmy Rodrigues.
Well, I would have thought that the Indian batters preparing for the series against Australia with all those beautiful quick bowlers would have been practicing the short ball both offside and leg side, and it's just such a wonderful shot being able to use the pace and a little bit of width over point. Well played by Rodrigues.
And again, this time along the turf though from Rodrigues.
And let's be honest, short for Rodrigues' knee roll for most people, so it probably doesn't need too much straying from your normal length to get up for her. And that's why she plays so beautifully down through that backward square and deep third man region. So I think the Sixers will really try and just cramp her for room.
The point you made before, Erin, about not going too hard on this last over for the Renegades. Kaur, 10 off 2. She's already started like a lightning bolt.
It's an edge and it goes past Healy and past the cover as well on the boundary line. So runs coming very, very quickly here for Harmanpreet Kaur.
Yep, dealing in boundaries. I would even say that was an educated edge. Soft hands, just making sure she keeps the ball on the ground. Yeah, I think that was almost purposeful.
I think you still think she's got a green shirt on there, Al.
It's the Melbourne Renegades' best power play this season, passing the 44 they scored against the Sydney Sixers. And it's a dot to finish with. A power play of 2 halves, really. It was the Sydney Sixers for the first few overs, a lot of dot balls, and the wicket of Eve Jones, and then it was the Renegades that fought back. Even though they lost the second wicket of Webb, runs started to flow.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see here, Eve Jones just going after a short one, not quite getting a hold of it. Rodrigues was fantastic, using her feet, getting through the cover region where she's so known to be really, really devastating. A little bit loose in that one over from Stella Campbell with a couple of little leg side deliveries here that just Courtney Webb kind of going to turn that ball leg side, getting the leading edge, and then Core really capitalising on a couple of loose deliveries, which probably was the moment that changed the power play. Before that, Sixers were looking beautifully, and just a couple of little loose deliveries allowed them to really get a nice little tack along and finish off with 2 for 45 after the 6.
It's going to be Nicole Bolton, you'd like to say, on her home ground of sorts. The Western Australian having made the move to the Sydney Sixers this season.
This will be almost autopilot for Nicole Bolton. She's done it so many times, bowling through those middle overs for the Scorchers at this particular ground. I think from this particular end as well. She does quite like the pavilion end, so.
Oh, she's gotten away with that one.
Well, I think Nicole Bolton is such an asset with both bat and ball. She's a part-time off spinner, but she does really good things in the WBBL, often opening as well. So this is slightly different coming in after the power play is completed.
Just hasn't quite got her line right so far.
And I suspect will have a much greater role, Erin, given that you're unable to make the WBBL on this occasion, or usually you would also bowl some handy off spin.
Some part-time offies, Alan. That's what we call them. I completely agree with you. I think she's such an underrated spinner. Just so economical, and she's done the job for the Scorchers time and time again. So, this season, last game bowled particularly well, really economical, and I think that's what the Sixers will be going to her, just to try and dry up a few runs and really trying to rush through a few overs.
Well, that one slides across Harmanpreet Kaur. That's probably why we're seeing so many Scorchers fans down there early too. Just come down early and say thank you, Nicole Bolton, for all your services to Western Australian cricket. And I'm tipping her mum and dad are probably in the crowd as well. And her dad always has. Is it now? I want to get it right. It's Melville Cricket Club.
That sounds about right.
Top on wherever he goes, whether he's in England, Australia.
Even though it's hot.
Yeah, correct. Loves the sweep shot, Harmanpreet Kaur. And her innings just keeps on going with a flourish here as well. That is 7 overs gone, 2 for 50 for the Melbourne Renegades. Kaur 17 not out off just the 9 deliveries. Rodrigues 15 from 16, and that looks pretty relaxing. And I think Alex Blackwell's just got very, very excited watching that, haven't you?
I'm just thinking, what species would they be catching in that river? Oh, how nice, getting out on the water, being able to cruise by, troll your lure and catch the score at the cricket.
That would be your ideal setup, wouldn't it? Yeah. You wouldn't be in the deck chair on the sidelines. You'd be on the boat with the rod in the water, having a bit of a
and maybe just listening to the cricket, knowing that it's just happening across the way.
Thumbs up. Everyone's in the inner circle that they should be. Umpires always got a keen eye on absolutely every element of the game. Again, just glides the ball down to third to get off strike, Harmanpreet Kaur. So the 50 up after that pretty torrid start there for the Melbourne Renegades. They faced maidens. They lost the wicket of Eve Jones coming back into the side.
Well, they're a strong batting unit, I think, the Renegades. We've got Jess Duffin as well still to come. Someone who's so experienced and just coming back after missing out on last WBBL with the birth of her daughter Georgie.
There's the change-up that Erin Burns was talking about. And a little fumble from Healy, and some cricket awareness from the Indian pairing gives them the single.
But it's a nice platform to build from here. Yes, the 2 wickets down, but a good power play in the end for the Renegades, and they'll be looking to post a very good total here. The conditions are good. It's up to them to judge what is a good total to set for the Sixers.
Does like to get down on one knee now. This is going to challenge the boundary rider. Looks like Claire Moore is well and truly up to it.
Yeah, excellent work there on the boundary by Claire. I don't think she's terribly familiar on the boundary, but she's done so well in this respect. Kind of one-handed little flick back, saving some runs for her team. It's fantastic.
It doesn't look like the sort of surface that you can slide particularly well on, and the fielders need to judge that. Do I go with a sort of roll, or do I go with the slide? And the grass can be quite different across different venues.
Good call. No, it's a really good shout out, Alan. I think most people sort of sitting at home think, oh, well, they've just changed cities, but it's all about the pitch area. But so much difference. We had Mornay Morkel talking about the ball snaking on the ground. Some grounds snake a lot more than others. Some grounds are a lot easier to slide on.
Well, the Wacker is one of the best sliding grounds. One of the fields I always loved playing on.
Punching off the back foot into space again, Harmanpreet Kaur. And once again, some good support on the boundary line from the Sixers.
I'm pleased to see Cheetal going with the roll, because she has had a few big shoulder injuries.
Yeah.
And just on a ground that grips a little bit, it's probably better for especially Cheetal to go with that method. The training session before going out on a fresh venue is really important for the fielders to just get a sense of the dimensions, but then also whether it's snaking across the ground, and if sliding is something that they can do.
Change of pace again. Little fumble from Cheetal.
We usually call it the scorpion factor. It's like, how at risk are you of going feet over the back of the head, touching the ground that way? Sophie Molyneux had an absolute cracker scorpion chasing one to the boundary, where she really tried to extend out and pull one back, but I think her feet hit the rope before her hands did. So
wow.
Acrobatics.
Yeah, absolutely. The backward roll, the reverse forward roll.
One of the other big changes from city to city too, and I just noticed someone in the background there doing the Aussie wave, which is to get rid of the flies. The flies are a little bit more consistent and just a little bit more persistent as well, I find, in Perth. Oh, that's missed stumps, missed Healy's gloves. And Kaur's going to have to put her skates on.
Well, I think Kaur will be enjoying this matchup. Has been a teammate of Nicole Bolton over at the Lancashire Thunder, a team I coached in the Kia Super League, which is now no longer. Now it's the 100. But these two enjoyed their time together at Manchester, so I'm sure there'll be a little bit of chat out there.
It has been one of the biggest developments within the women's game of late, isn't it? The fact that international players are playing with each other a lot more around domestic cricket. We've seen it in men's cricket for the last probably dozen years.
Now, Erin, as someone who bowls off spin, I'm just interested to know what the intention is here of Nicole Bolton. Is she looking to tie down Kaur, or is she looking to get her out? Coming around the wicket, I just don't see her getting that LBW particularly.
Slog sweep from Rodrigues.
Yeah, I think Bolton's been so good at tying players down, and I think sometimes that can go hand in hand, particularly in a short format, in terms of if you build some pressure, they've got to try and hit the release valve somewhere, so that can sometimes draw a wicket. Perhaps going after something that wasn't quite there.
Al, in your team meetings when you were with the Thunder, did you sit down and think and speak about, particularly with the batting lineup, potentially who are bowlers that you can target in the opposition?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, with Bolton coming in through the middle, it's clear they're looking to just have some quiet overs. So shots like this from Rodrigues, continuing to move the fielders around, pick up ones and twos and accumulate, will be such an important role for the Renegades batters at the moment.
9 overs gone here at Lilac Hill. It's the Renegades up against the Sixers. And at the moment, it's a partnership, a very good one at the moment, between Rodrigues and Kaur forming, as the Renegades are 2 for 65. Off spinners to 2 players who like to sweep. What's your game plan?
Look, I think with Bolts, she's not known to get a lot of grip, so sometimes she could probably just kiss one on that kind of straightens, and I think that's the one that kind of she missed and Healy missed and went past her. So I think that's probably their thought there, is that they're just trying to kind of cramp her, probably not going to get too much grip off the pitch. But yeah, as you said, these 2 players are fantastic against spin, so it can kind of go either way sometimes.
And when you were a very, very good sweeper, and it was part of your game plan as well, do you go away from it at any stage? When do you sort of look up at a field or an angle in which a bowler's playing and think, maybe I shouldn't sweep as much?
Well, I think with Bolts, she's so good at flattening out her trajectory, and her length is quite tough to sweep because it's sort of a hard length. So I'm looking for the ability to get back and cut and pull rather than sweep against a spinner like Bolts, who's so flat and into the wicket. Yadav may give a little bit more flight.
She does on the first ball. Rodrigues very easily manoeuvring the ball to that 3rd region for the single. So it is an Indian affair at the moment at Lilac Hill.
Isn't it fascinating? It's wonderful to see the Indian players. We've seen a few of them in the WBBL, but not to this extent. And you know, some of the leading players in the world, seeing what they can do in what I feel is the leading T20 domestic comp in the world for women.
Watchful. It's been interesting, isn't it, when we all of a sudden find within the WBBL that there's a match-up between countries as well, where it's South Africa, or in this instance, between 2 Indian teammates. Sweeps hard, sweeps square, and there's protection.
Well, I'm not sure anyone would dispute that comment from me, that it's the leading T20 domestic competition in the world for women. Can we say the same for the BBL? We don't see even the best Australian players in that competition, or the best internationals. But when you look at the WBBL, the best Australians, the best from all around the world, it is such a good product to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think when you looked at the 100, there was lots of elements of WBBL taken over to that. Yadav gets a little bit of dip, almost creating the Yorker to Rodrigues. I think that's why it's been so hard for some of the players to pull out of it as well. We've had Bates and Amelia Kerr who want to come over and play. He had a very quick, the little backhand can't quite get control of it.
There's a bit of respect being shown here between the Indian top order and Radha Yadav. She's been impressive, Yadav, coming into the Sixers. You would have felt, you know, quite a bit of expectation to step up as an overseas player in this competition for the first time, but I think she's done really well.
Yes, no, and Verma does well to keep the ball in the inner circle. Means that just 3 runs coming from that Radha Yadav first over. It also means 10 overs have passed here at Lilac Hill. We'll take a drinks break. 2 losses, but it has been Harmanpreet Kaur and Jemima Rodrigues that's really got the Renegades back into things.
Yeah, she started off with a bang, didn't she, Kaur? She came out and hit 10 off 2 and then has been following up nicely, just working the ball around. Jemima Rodrigues just, you know, getting some confidence after her last innings and playing beautifully. So, yeah, the Sixers, I think they'll be happy with it. They pulled it back after that one Stella Campbell over that was a bit more expensive for them, and they'll be looking to really try and put the pressure on these two with the introduction of Lauren Cheadle here. Always a little bit difficult kind of facing that left arm quick against the 2 right-handers, so it'll be an interesting little period.
Challenge here for Harmanpreet Kaur too. We don't have a lot of left-arm seamers going around domestic cricket in Australia at the moment. So Lauren Cheadle has started very well. 2 overs, including a maiden, none for 5. And it's the first over after the drinks break. So everyone just settling in for the day here, aren't they? Scorchers coming up next.
We'll see a sea of orange for the Scorchers, won't we? We'll be thrilled to see their home team.
Doesn't matter what venue. In Perth, you always see a good spread of orange. Gets it high on the bat and just over Perry at mid-wicket.
Yeah, and would be expecting to see some opportunities in front of the wicket for Cheadle, because she'll probably look to have a fairly square field set, look to hit the deck, and give the drive fielders, bring them up on the circle to try and entice the Renegades batters to hit on the up down the ground, nearly bringing an opportunity there at mid-wicket. It looks like they've got the tallest fielder on the ground at mid-off. It's Stella Campbell. Good choice, I think. Those extra centimetres make a difference.
Yeah, even that one just sailing slightly over Perry's head. I reckon Stella would have got there. I reckon she's got a few inches on Perry. Perry's not certainly no shorty.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. That is in the air, but will land safely. So after the wicket of Webb, that is in the air, but will land safely. So after the wicket of Webb, there would have been a bit of nerves around the Melbourne Renegades camp, but the 50-run
to settle and also to set a foundation, because the Renegades will look to well, in particular Harmanpreet Kaur. This ground's not big enough for her, so once she's set, it's going to be very dangerous for the Sixers.
It's inside the line, Harmanpreet Kaur.
I think your kayak fisherman might be in danger, perhaps, Al, if Harmanpreet can get going. I think there'll be a few balls being fished out of the river, perhaps.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past her. I've seen some big hits from Harmanpreet at this venue.
I'm going to go old school. I've seen some big hits from Zoe Goss on this.
Oh,
ground.
yeah.
Yeah, Victoria versus WA. Well, it hasn't got all of it. Now, is this an opportunity? It is. It certainly is. It's Stella Campbell not needing her height whatsoever, because it's fallen short. It's a comfortable catch, and that is what the Sydney Sixers were looking for, the wicket of Jemmy Rodrigues.
Yeah, and this was Cheadle bowling to her field, very clear plan, asking Rodrigues to hit on the up down the ground, and it is a difficult task against some decent pace. Rodrigues, handy 25 runs, but probably would have liked to partner with her Indian counterpart Kaur just for a little bit longer to bat through to those last sort of 7 or 8 overs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lauren Cheadle's first wicket back in the WBBL this season, so she'll be chuffed with that, and no doubt a few back pats. She's had a rough trot with injury, as you touched on earlier, but it's so good seeing her out there doing her thing and putting it on a spot bowling really well.
Yeah, well said, Erin. So Lauren Cheadle with the breakthrough after the 50-run partnership came up. Jess Duffin out to the middle. As the end of a successful over there for Cheadle and the Sydney Sixers. 11 overs gone. It's 3 for 73.
key wicket there for the Sixers, just to stem the flow. I think, looking at easily chasing 160, here's an opportunity if they can pick up a couple of wickets, the Sixers, to maybe make that more like a 150 score. As we see the replay of Rodrigues trying to go down the ground, wasn't able to get enough of that. Stella taking a very simple catch.
The perfect start after drinks too, isn't it? You always want to start off with a wicket to really try and put the handbrake on and make the batting team try and almost start again.
Rada Yadav. So the sweep shot is in the air from Kaur. Started off well their first over, just going for 3 runs.
Well, how valuable is it to have a left arm orthodox in your team? They're so critical with being able to tie down batters, and their economy rates are usually quite high. But then also, some of the best batters in the world are, find that particular style of bowling the hardest. Thinking of Meg Lanning, getting out quite a bit to left arm orthodox.
Why do you think that is? Because that's in both the men's game and the women's game. We often speak about Steve Smith as well with left arm orthodox.
Well, I think it's because the angle they're able to create is attacking the stump, so you're bringing in bold and LB. And typically to the right-hand batters, it's a ball that can slightly go away from the bat. So any spinner who's able to turn the ball away from the batter would be able to generate more opportunities.
That's the one that she's looking just to get to slide on a little bit. So Duffin, new to the crease. Al, you've spent a lot of time on tours with Jess Duffin. What does she bring to this Melbourne Renegades team?
Well, you can't keep her quiet. She's going to be moving the game along from ball 1, and she's also able to find the boundaries very quickly into her innings. So she's just also able to pick up length and create errors in length from the bowlers, because she's got good levers and she's also willing to use her feet early.
Kaur wanting to get further across to the offside to bring that shot into play. And some good hustle too means she picks up 2 off the last ball of Rada Yadav's second over. And the Melbourne Renegades, after 12, are 3 for 77. So 8 overs to go here in the first innings of a big day of WBBL cricket coming to you from Perth. And the Renegades, having already beaten the Sixers this year, looking to go 2 from 2. Have a platform. They've got some players to come too. Carly Leeson, we know, is a clean hitter of the ball. Josie Dooley with that 37 opening up for the Melbourne Renegades the other day. And then, of course, the captain herself, Sophie Molyneux, who started off as opening up and then has sort of slid down the order a little bit. Does that come as a surprise to you, Al?
Yeah, look, I think Molyneux can bat anywhere, really, in this order, and she can because she's captain. So I'm not sure why she's batting herself at 8. But again, I think, it's important for the Renegades to be thinking about the context of the match as it's happening, and they are willing to change their minds about who's going in, using the left hand, right hand, who's better against spin. They've got a lot of options.
Well, these two, between Duffin and Cheadle, have been on tours together as well. Jess Duffin hasn't probably had the pre-season that she would have liked, hasn't hit a lot of balls in terms of the club system. Melbourne's been in lockdown, as has Sydney.
Yeah, I don't think you can discount Duffin, though. She's such a strong competitor as well, and obviously having played for her country, and only the season before she gave birth to her little baby girl had an absolute blinder. So she's definitely got it in her. Hasn't kind of quite gotten away just yet in this competition, but as I said, I think the Sixers would have definitely done their research on her. You definitely cannot she's definitely got it in her. Hasn't kind of quite gotten away just yet in this competition, but as I said, I think the Sixers would have definitely done their research on her. You definitely cannot discount her from...
That's pretty nice. You know, she's got some space back there, Harmanpreet Kaur. And even though she might not have got the runs that she really wanted to, it does put a little bit of pressure back on Lauren Cheadle, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely will play in her mind. Sometimes, Al, you did this, and lots of times to me, and I hated it. But just that movement around the crease, and even like looking to play a different shot, it plays with the bowler's head going, oh, is she going to play that shot? Is she going to move across the wicket? Is she going to paddle me again? It just kind of gets you asking questions a little bit.
Good, very quick call. Good reaction there from Duffin and Kaur to sneak through for the single. So singles, twos, dots. They haven't found the boundary since the power play, the Melbourne Renegades.
I'm just trying to get in the head of Kaur here. Why would she go to that option? She's someone who I think has so many options around the ground. To bring this in a sort of funky shot, which, yes, I used to love, but I didn't have all the options that Kaur has. I think she's looking to get that 45-degree player on the fence finer so that she's able to pull the ball and get a boundary in front of square. So probably looking to manipulate the field.
It's a nice shape of shot there from Harmanpreet Kaur for the dot. I think it's a really good conversation, isn't it? Because I think a lot of times people think they're always trying to score the boundary off it, but there is a big part of a player going out to the middle, going on up the field for them.
The field has changed, so the 45's come up. So I think Cheadle will go a bit fuller and maybe the change of pace.
Needed to get a hand on that because there's no protection backward of point, and Kaur finds the boundary. The first one since the power play.
Yeah, handy boundary there for Harmanpreet Kaur. The Sixers have just slowed the scoring down after taking the wicket of Rodrigues in the 11th over, but Cheadle just giving the tiniest little bit of width, and Harmanpreet capitalising.
3 for 84. Whose camp would you like to be sitting in at the moment?
Well, I really think that the Renegades have plenty of batting still to come. As you said, Leeson as well, who can find the boundaries, but two very experienced batters at the crease at the moment. I'm in the Renegades camp at the moment.
I know what camp you're sitting in, but so you're going to be reasonably happy. But when you look at this pitch at the moment, and we know that, particularly with an Elise Perry in there, whether she opens or is at 4, there is a comfort factor about chasing for the Sixers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you mentioned earlier, knowing what you got to get, and as on a new pitch that you haven't played on yet this season, I think the Sixers will really be able to tailor their lineup around that. We did mention that they are potentially, or there has been whispers about them changing up their order a little bit, so that could potentially just work in their favour in terms of being able to shuffle a few people around.
Bolton back in the attack, coming around the wicket to Duffin.
I'm interested on your two opinions on who you think will finish here. Usually we've got Maitland Brown is known for her finishing. We've got Lauren Cheadle, who's just bowled out. Perry's got 2. Stella, a little bit expensive, but we haven't seen Ash Gardner yet.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. No Ash Gardner yet, going with Bolton through the middle, who's able to sort of flatten out that flight, whereas perhaps with the left hand is gone, then Ash, who can turn it, not able, maybe not featuring as much at the moment.
Has to reach for it, does Jess Duffin, but has got some space to work with. Doesn't quite get all of it. Sort of towed it, but it just dribbles over the line.
I don't mind that, though. It was almost past her bat. I think Nicole Bolton saw her coming and saw an opportunity for potentially a stumping there, but just Duffin too good, and beautiful lofted cover driver.
Well, they're the levers I'm talking about, being able to actually reach the ball when your feet are nowhere near it. So she's got reasonably long arms, but also a high bat grip.
Some handy fielding there to prevent multiple runs. How much would the fact that Ash Gardner went from none for 41 against the Renegades in the last time that these two teams matched up play in Elise Perry's mind?
Yeah, probably quite a bit. Were they poor deliveries, or was it just a particularly good matchup that we see a lofted ball? Was it in catchable range Anne Dreeks does a pretty good job there on the boundary.
I think the two slog sweeps for 6 probably up the run rate or the economy rate for Ash. But yeah, no, it definitely looked like last game Harmanpreet really took to that right arm ortho. So
again, some nice footwork. They're going to take on Perry at mid-wicket. That is a very quick single indeed. Was Elise Perry maybe just napping a little bit on the inner circle as we see the end of Bolton's over and this partnership forming 3 for 93 with 6 overs to go.
So what you're saying there, Erin, is that while Harmanpreet cores in, you don't think we're going to see Ash Gardner?
I don't think so, no.
Interesting. You know, one of the leading bowlers for Australia, and it's not bowling today for the Sixers, or yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they talk a lot about matchups, and certainly Sixers aren't short on bowlers. So I think they'll go to, obviously, here's Maitland with her third over coming. She's been fairly economical so far, and she'll use her change-ups. But I think with both these batters, Duffin and Kaur, so strong against spin, particularly with that right arm ortho. And as you mentioned, our Ash does get that real shape and turn. It might kind of just work into their arc. So potentially playing on Elise Perry's mind that she might hold Ash back a little bit. Maybe look if we can kind of sneak a wicket here that she might come on towards the end of this.
So it's not the style of bowler in the sense of right arm orthodox because Nicole Bolton's on, but it's that Nicole Bolton can be a little bit more defensive and a little bit flatter.
Absolutely, a bit more skiddy off the wicket too.
Brown, a change of pace to begin her over. Jess Duffin not overly happy with herself.
I think Maitland thought that was going to hit her in the chops just then.
Well, it's one of the newfound dangers in this game, isn't it, for the seam bowlers, is the ball driven back in the follow-through. Again, that change of pace into the pitch. So a good start here from Brown.
Well, Duffin hasn't quite got going in this WBBL yet. Scores of 2, 6 not out, and 11. That last 11, she batted at 3. So she has found herself sort of moving around the order a little bit.
Leaves that one, and it's going to get the wide for it.
I think she'll just continue to get better and better throughout the WBBL. There's plenty more matches to come. As you say, Mel, maybe didn't have the lead in as she would have liked to be able to get that match practice. But she's someone who I think with her experience and her skill level will just continue to get stronger throughout the tournament.
That's one of the challenges of this sort of into the final series. It's cut nicely. Will they take one on the throw past Maitland Brown? No. And the Sydney Sixers would have known that from last season. Didn't start overly well and then got a little bit of a run on at the back end of the season, but just fell short of getting into the finals.
Yeah, you like to string a few games together. I think when you're in a bit of a winning streak, it just feels a little bit easier. But it's just sometimes when you've come off a couple of losses, it's just about finding a way to get back in your groove and not overthink things and just go through your processes.
It's a lovely shot there from Duffin, just looking to pierce the gaps and get the outfielders running, knowing that she and Harmanpreet are quick enough to be able to get up and down the wicket. So when the boundaries aren't coming, and the Sixers have done a great job tying down the scoring, you've got to look for other ways to get that sort of 8-9 runs per over at the moment.
So Perry, usually at a mid-wicket, now finds herself at point to Brown. And that's exactly where that ball goes. You just sense, even though probably not finding the boundary as much as what she'd like, that Jess Duffin, this could be an important little innings for her and for the Melbourne Renegades, finding that she can use her hands a little bit backward of point, moving around the crease a little bit more, finding some confidence there. As we see the end of Brown's over, 15 overs gone, It's 3 for 96. Kaur and Duffin out in the middle. When you talk about experience at the international and domestic level, you could not think of two better players there for the Melbourne Renegades to try and manage these last 5 overs. What do you think they're going to be looking at here, Erin Burns and Alex Blackwell?
Well, I think Al mentioned before that around that 150, 160, but I think that might be brought back a little bit. Potentially, they can go at, you know, 8s, 9s, even up to 10s. So they can get around that 140, 145. I think they'll be pretty happy with a finish like that.
I'm tipping they can go to 10s per over in this last
Thinking
5.
big, I like it.
Big. I think this is the ideal scenario for Kaur. She's set herself, now she can look to go big.
And going big can happen in a variety of different ways. She can go big through mid-wicket, as we've seen many times before, or she can sweep nicely into space.
It might be ambitious, but I think 10 and over is certainly possible with 7 wickets in hand, 2 of the most clean hitters in world cricket at the crease. Both are reasonably set now. We might see a little bit more spin being bowled in these last 5.
Looking to go big, contacts it nicely. It's a lot of hang time. And all Ash Gardner can do is watch that sail over her, over the picket fence. And Jess Duffin might be just getting in her groove.
As we see the patrons getting their car keys, looking to move their car now because there's a few of them in danger. That is a huge groove. As we see the patrons getting their car keys, looking to move their car now because there's a few of them in danger. That is a huge hit, almost hitting the sight screen. And that's what she can do. She loves playing spin, just using her feet well, giving herself that little bit of room to get a full bat swing down the ground.
Wants to go again, Jess Duffin. It's flatter. And it's Reeks that will tidy up. So the 100 up for the Melbourne Renegades. Alex Blackwell's calling for 10 and over. Jess Duffin, I think she might have heard you, Al. She's like, yeah, I think we can do it too.
And it's about sort of picking your bowler and working as a partnership. Who's more comfortable attacking this particular bowler? And I think Duffin against Yadav is a good matchup.
Flourish of the blade there from Kaur, and she doesn't want to miss out either. So 10 and over might be under par at the moment for you.
It's only 2 hits.
Al's now calling for 15. Yeah.
So Radha Yadav is on, and she's getting a bit of punishment from both Duffin and Kaur. So that's going to put a little bit of pressure now on Elise Perry, on whether or not that she does turn to an Ash Gardner who hasn't bowled yet. Catchable, and she's taken it. What a catch from Radha Yadav. She's been hit around the park, down the ground, hit square of wicket, and then she pulls off a little blinder to get rid of Harmanpreet Kaur.
And she gets the last laugh in this over. Still a couple of balls. Harmanpreet, a huge wicket. She's so dangerous at the back end of the innings and just didn't quite commit to this shot, looking to go down the ground and deceived a little bit in flight. How about that catch? One of the best in the season.
That was an absolute ripper of a catch. I quite liked, obviously, how Harmanpreet was shaping to hit through that mid-off region, and Yadav almost was going that way and then had to last minute step off her left foot and take a full-length dive to her right. So that was brilliant agility there by the Indian international.
Taking a little bit of skin off the knee. Yep, to the non-dominant hand, to the right-hand side. Spinner's always looking for that chance of a caught and bowled, and she's snaffled an important wicket because Harmanpreet Kaur is really starting to settle herself. So the dismissal of Kaur brings the captain of the Melbourne Renegades out to the middle, Sophie Molyneux. And it also means a handy left-hand, right-hand partnership here for the Melbourne Renegades.
Yeah, Molyneux coming in at 6. There's still Dooley and Leeson to come, who are very handy with the bat as well. But it'll be the left-hander, maybe with Kaur gone. Ash might come on.
So another chance for a caught and bowled. Just to the right, though, of Radha Yadav. That's the over the Sydney Sixers were looking for, because they broke the partnership of Kaur and Duffin. 4 overs to go. 24 deliveries as the Melbourne Renegades find themselves 4 for 108. Let's have another look at this catch. Erin Burns, we talk about caught and bowled. This was pretty good from the spinner.
Yeah, absolutely. Just catching the inside edge of the bat there. And I think that agility to anticipate going to the left, but then last minute change to the right. That was just a beautiful catch. And long levers. It just can't, that arm just kept on extending. So a beautiful catch. She should be pretty happy with that one as well. Getting her captain and Indian teammate out in core.
Well, it's taken 16 overs, but we're finally seeing Ash Gardner coming on. The right arm orthodox, the wicket of Harmanpreet